Hey everyone, and welcome back to the show. So I'm rolling solo today, and we have got lots of updates with the Activision Blizzard situation because the markets have weighed in, we have got fresh lawsuits, we've got a response from Bobby Kotick himself, and a bunch of other things going on. I mean, there really is a lot. So, you know what? Let's just get into it. The first thing, and I think one of the most important things for actually change happening, is the markets and the lawsuits. Right? So 3 lawsuits have been filed against Activision Blizzard. One from a law firm called Rosen, one from Robbins, and one from Shaw. And basically they're all for around the same thing. We've got here, Activision Blizzard may have issued materially misleading business information to the investing public. We've got directors violated the Securities Exchange Act and breached their fiduciary duties to the company. Violations of security laws. They're securities laws. So, this is all a very bad look, and this is a sort of thing that spreads around in investor press, investor media, investor communities, and sows negative sentiment. But also, as a result of that negative sentiment, because of all the bad stuff going on, is this, the stock dropping. So here we've got the one-day chart, so you can see a little bit more of the first day of the primary drop in the stock. So, we were in the 90s, then we're sort of down to 84.20. There, which is obviously not great. It's not humongous, but it is the market reacting to what's going on. Who knows if it will be more protracted. And then if you look at the 5-day chart, you can get a little bit more of a picture. Now, overall, this company was trading at 93, 94, 95-ish dollars. Now it's down to 84.5. That's quite a lot gone. I mean, imagine you're a big exec. You've got a few million shares of the company. Now they're worth a good bit less. So, it's very clear here that the actions of Activision Blizzard King management, those actions over the last many years, have led to this happening because they let problems fester within their company. And that's why you can see these lawsuits going on. So this could really force change. Perhaps it's even what forced the response from Bobby Kotick himself. Now, before we talk about Bobby, I do want to talk about some leadership stuff, or some staff stuff. Staff have basically been signing an open letter. Now, there's 2,600 signatories on this as of sometime yesterday. It's probably a good few more now. And essentially, they are calling for, all of the things that led to this being bad not being the case anymore. So treating things properly seriously, and then also calling on Frances Townsend to step down as the executive sponsor of the ABK Employee Women's Network as a result of the damaging nature of her statement. She basically issued a statement massively downplaying all of this stuff. That did not ring true to many women and other people at the company, so they can obviously no longer feel comfortable with her being the executive sponsor of that group. Indeed, the words of Frances are pretty much directly repudiated by Bobby Kotick himself, and are certainly, they ring hollow when you read Bobby Kotick's statement. So that was definitely a humongous miss from her, and of course a humongous miss from the initial communications that, pissed and moaned about unaccountable state bureaucrats, when it very much does seem like there is a real problem going on here. Because this wasn't just a lawsuit on a bunch of, quickly appearing allegations. This was a lawsuit filed after a 2-year-long investigation. So, we have got 2,600 signatories here, number of demands, calling for action. The company has got a total of 10,000-ish employees, I think just under that. Now, if this was all employees, you could say a quarter have signed this. Now, it's not all employees, it's actually current and former ABK employees, but it's still a lot, and it's probably a good bit more than 2,600 now. That's not all, though, because employees are actually walking out. There's an employee walkout happening. I believe it took place, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. in the Irvine HQ of Blizzard Entertainment. However, there are loads of employees working from home. Those employees are going to be pausing their work. Pretty damn big for a walkout. Now, these walkouts are something that is really employees trying to take it seriously. This is something we saw happen at Riot when all of their stuff was going on as well. Now, the company has given them paid time off. Now, I don't know if that's just, hey, here's an extra 4 hours of paid time off to cover this, or if it's saying, hey, you can use 4 hours of your allocated paid time off within your contract. Don't know specifically there. But in terms of what they're calling for, I mean, it's pretty simple. It is what you would expect. Number one is an end to mandatory arbitration clauses in the employment contracts, saying that those protect abusers and limit the ability of victims to seek restitution. Now, the point of those mandatory arbitration clauses is pretty simple. If you are aggrieved by a company, you want to seek some sort of justice, perhaps you're going to bring that to the legal system. Now, a part of those court proceedings will be the discovery phase. That's where, as an example, the prosecution can legally obtain documents from the defendant. Those could be documents that would be very bad if they were on the public record. Therefore, you have mandatory arbitration being in the employment contract so that it does not go that way, and so that basically none of that bad shit gets out into the public because it would make the company look bad. This is something the Bobby Kotick statement does not talk about. It is something the employees absolutely want, and I think we can all see why. Number two, then, is basically just the adoption and ensurement of, fair practices across the company, then publication on relative compensation of employees, so you can basically work out, how much of a systemic problem is actually here. That is one of the things that the initial lawsuit alleges, that there is systemic issues in regards to, promotions, compensation, things like that. And also that they basically empower, a task force and hire a third party to audit things like the reporting structure, HR department, and executive staff. So really, it is what you would expect employees to be demanding in a situation like this. No big surprise, but it is pretty big that they're doing it. It's a big enough step to walk out. And certainly for the company, that is 4 hours for all of those staff. It's quite a lot. But also, you've got the context switching penalty. A lot more than 4 hours per person is going to be lost here, basically my point. But that is what's up. That is what's up. Pretty big stuff. Now, there is Bobby Kotick's response to this, which we can go through. It's funny, he says every voice matters. That's a Blizzard sort of thing. It's like literally written down on the orc statue at Blizzard. One of the values of the company. Of course, a value that was not particularly well adhered to. But Bobby says it's been a difficult and upsetting week. He says that they will do a better job of listening now in the future. In regards to their initial statements, he said that they were, quite frankly, tone deaf. Certainly, the initial legal counsel feeling statement and the one from Francis, those were absolutely tone deaf. I think tone deaf is a charitable way of putting it, given the severity of what was being alleged against the company. So there's that. He also says it's imperative that we acknowledge all perspectives and experiences and respect the feelings of those who have been mistreated in any way. I am sorry that we did not provide the right empathy and understanding. He talks about people, staff caring so deeply for the company. That's funny when you think about Activision, but it is actually quite true for a bunch of Blizzard staff who really are passionate about Blizzard, and I think very feeling let down about them as well. But he goes on to say, many things like ensuring that they have a safe and welcoming work environment is Bobby's highest priority, that the leadership team have heard people loud and clear, to which it's like, this is all good shit, but how much do you really believe it? And, is this just, stocks dropping, we have a bunch of lawsuits coming, okay, let's deal with this. Now, there's a connection between those lawsuits and one of the next things here. It's good that he's saying there's no place anywhere at the company for discrimination, harassment, and unequal treatment. Absolutely should be that way. Should be a good workplace for creativity, inspiration, where people are being treated well. And one of the ways apparently this stuff's going to happen is that he has asked the law firm WilmerHale to conduct a review of our policies and procedures to ensure that we have and maintain the best practices to promote a respectful, inclusive workspace. The work will begin immediately, and the WilmerHale team will be led by Stephanie Avacane, who is a member of the management team at WilmerHale, and here's the big bit, and who was most recently the director of the United States Securities and Exchange Commission's Division of Enforcement. So she has got experience enforcing SEC complaints. So she's, probably a bit of a bruiser, right? Get shit solved. But you could also say, oh, really? You spend all that time, high up, head of a department at this government organization, and then you leverage that to get a big high-paying, high-paying world law firm? Oh, Are there systemic criticisms we can maybe have? It's just like the people that are in government and then, they leave government and instantly they have a very high-paid lobbying job or something. You're like, man, bit rough. But hopefully that stuff is taken seriously. I'll certainly say that. And also, like, there's a bunch of SEC, related lawsuits, right? Like breaking the 1934 Act is something that's mentioned in one of those lawsuits. I think for a bunch of the investing community, this is a pick, and maybe this wording here is so that the investing community can see that somebody who was a high-up person in the SEC is now trying to, work with the problem and fix the problem. Is that something that's being done? Maybe yes, to fix the problem, but also to inspire some investor confidence. I wouldn't be surprised. It's the sort of thing. I wish I could take all of this at face value and be nice and charitable, and we could all talk about how it's all happy, 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 good. But at the end of the day, we've got to be critical here because this is some serious stuff, and I think it's those more critical readings that are the important thing to think about. So he does say that he encourages anyone with an experience that violates their policies in any way to, use the existing channels in the company or to reach out to Stephanie and the team. There's a hotline and an email address that has been made there where their outreach will be confidential and no retaliation will be tolerated. It's good that that wording is there from the CEO because any person who is going to be looking to cover their ass or cover their friend's ass is going to see pretty damn clear no retaliation will be tolerated. And I'm going to tie this into point 3 of their action plan here. We will be immediately evaluating managers and leaders across the company. Anyone found to have impeded the integrity of our processes for evaluating claims and imposing appropriate consequences will be terminated. So very much, if somebody is thinking in a retaliatory way, maybe trying to cover their friend's ass, cover their own ass, well, point 3 here is going to catch them out. Assuming this is all enforced as it should be. Now, also for employee support, basically reiterating that they're going to be investigating claims. They won't hesitate to take decisive action. But then it's like, yeah, sure, I'm sure you would have said that in the past, but your HR department didn't. So how much stock do we put in? But he does say that to strengthen their capacity or capabilities, they're going to be adding in additional senior staff and resources to the compliance and employee relations team. Also, they're going to be doing listening sessions. They're also, sort of doubling down on reiterating their hiring practices so that people are actually adhering to the official company policy. And then in-game changes where there is some in-game content that is inappropriate that they will be removing. Now, you could sort of think, what's that? Are they changing the... No, I'm fairly sure that's just removing Alex Afrasabi and, any sort of mentions and references to people who are now being implicated in this entire situation. So he says, and, I hope there's a world where we can take this at face value because it does sound good and it is good. But can we? Because Bobby says, your well-being remains my priority and I will spare no company resource ensuring that our company has the most welcoming, comfortable, and safe culture possible. You have my unwavering commitment that we will improve our company together and we will be the most inspiring, inclusive entertainment company in the world. Now, if you're a staffer at that company and you actually believe that, then that certainly will feel good to read. But we also then just have to think, how much truth is really in that? Is that just nice words? Will there actually be action? And this is where I'm going to hop over to the statement from the World of Warcraft development team. It's just a nice little bit here. Those of us in leadership understand it's not our place to judge when we've achieved our goals, but rather for our team and our community to let us know when we still have more to do. So that'll be the important bit. These are all good words from Bobby. It's on the actual teams to let us know when these good changes are being made. So that's basically the statement from Bobby covered. It's a bunch of things that sound good, but you have to take them with a grain of salt. And also, no mention of the, say, forced arbitration clauses. I mean, obviously there won't be. That, doing anything there will be an absolute last resort for Activision Blizzard management. They do not want that to happen. But it's just worth noting, there's a difference between the employee asks and what management is saying here. Now, there are some other things to get into. So there is an official response from the World of Warcraft development team. Of course, that makes sense. Alex Afrasabi, a senior creative director on WoW, was one person implicated in all of this, and he was an employee since 2004. Essentially, though, it is them saying that this is a statement that's been made after asking all of the WoW dev team, what do they think about this? And it's basically saying that, got to be a good, safe workspace where everyone feels welcome. That's important for the team, and it's also important for the players that, Azeroth feels like that as well. And it's like, how can it feel like that when Alex Afrasabi is an NPC in the game? And that is why they say here that, they want to take immediate action in Azeroth to remove references that are not appropriate. So both in Shadowlands and WoW Classic, we will see those changes be made. We've already seen them be made, actually. If I, zoop down here, we've got, Field Marshal Stonebridge is now where I think, was Field Marshal Afrasabi was the NPC who was there. That's just one example. There's a little bit more to go into on this whole removing NPCs thing, though. But yes, basically it's just saying that they know they need to rebuild trust. That's going to take time. I like how the leadership understand here that, it's on the community, on their employees, to let them know they've still got more work to do. Now, this is a statement that I think has been met, positively by some, less positively by others. I will say I heard a little bit in the grapevine that Team 2 was pretty much going to go rogue and do its own statement because they were goddamn furious up to a leadership level at how things were being handled. So it's that is good, This statement certainly could have been a bit stronger. I would say it does feel like a bit more weak and safe. I wonder if there was a first draft of this that was way more brutal, but it's a case where PR kind of just were okay, this is the best we're going to let you have. I don't know for sure. Now, there are some things that I think we should bring up. So there's two things. Is Quentin Flynn. I think Quentin Flynn, the voice actor who voiced Kel'Thas, one of the characters in World of Warcraft, and then also Swifty, who is a World of Warcraft streamer. Both Swifty and Quentin Flynn had allegations made against them. As soon as that happened, Swifty's NPC was removed from the game, and Quentin Flynn's voice acting was replaced for the character of Kel'Thas. So, if you hear Kel'Thas in the most recent World of Warcraft patch, different dude. Doesn't sound like Kel'Thas. Obviously. Now, the situation here is that Swifty, I believe, I'm not 100% fully read up to date in these. It's sort of thing, there is ambiguity, I think, but at least in large part, the community has cleared both of their names. I think in this case of Swifty, that is something where the person making the allegations did not have a good track record with the truth, and it very much seemed like stuff was being made up. And certainly in the eyes of the community, it does seem like Swifty's name has been cleared. As for Quentin Flynn, it seems like a similar situation there where, he made his response, and I think for many people, the name has been cleared. But I think many people's point here is that purely based on allegations that were, at the time unverified, Blizzard, acted fast, removed that stuff from the game. Yet with Alex Afrasabi, people in the World of Warcraft development team knew about his behavior. They were calling it the Cosby Suite. They knew what was going on. Yet he was still allowed to be in the game. Right? That's obviously a bad look. It obviously shows that the removal of Swifty and Quentin, that is something that is being done very much in a public relations, protecting the company right the hell now. Let's just not make sure there's not a story there. But then, if you do anything regarding Alex Afrasabi that is conspicuous, people are going to start asking questions. That will be bad for PR. So you can see why the responses were like that once you study the incentives actually going on here. Because if Alex leaves the company and then his NPC is removed, people are going to say, what the hell did he do to deserve that? Must have been something pretty rough. Turns out they would have been right. So it's just that thing. I imagine a lot of people in Team 2 knew what was going on with Alex, reported stuff to HR, stuff didn't get done, and they probably did wince when they walked past that NPC in Stormwind. I think absolutely, and I think there was probably plenty of people in that team who did not want Alex to be there, the NPC. But it's pretty hard to remove Alex, the NPC, when Alex is, a senior staff member on the team. And yes, after Alex left, I could see a bunch of people being like, okay, Alex is finally gone. Can we please remove the NPC? And then the PR people being like, well, that would be conspicuous, wouldn't it? And we don't want a bad story, so no. So it's worth thinking about what the internal dynamics of these companies can be. So that's primarily what's going on. There are a few other things to talk about quite quickly. Overwatch had a map reveal that seemingly has been pulled. Also, Hearthstone has got a It's got an expansion launch coming out next week. There was going to be a live stream, but they have canceled that out of respect of their co-workers. They're not going to do the live stream when all of this stuff is going on. And I think that absolutely is stuff that is, the right way to do it. Now, there are some other things, that have came up, like the Q&A session at BlizzCon, where basically this member of the audience, she said, like, hey, can we have NPCs that aren't looking like they're walking out of the Victoria's Secret catalog? Because people will see, in World of Warcraft and some of the older days, you have the version of armor that is worn by a male character, and it, looks like a dude in armor. For some reason, the version on a female character, like that breastplate, bit of armor, is now a crop top. So you're like, this, obviously, right? It's not exactly, an equal situation there. People have criticisms of that, so you've got a good faith criticism being presented to you, the developer, at a convention of your fans. Is the correct response to say, what do you mean? And another person saying, which catalog would you like them to step out of? I believe it was Alex Afrasabi, actually, who said the latter, and he looked like a bit of a smug twat when he said it as well. It's where there's a bunch of people who thought Alex came off like a bit of an asshole at these BlizzCons. It's interesting to see that they were proven right. I guess sometimes you just get the heebie-jeebies about someone. Bit of a rough panel, though. Greg Street, Ghostcrawler, pretty respected dude. He was on that panel. J. Allen Brack was on that panel. Of course, now current president of Blizzard. His career certainly zoomed, didn't it? As for Greg, we had a bunch of tweets. We said that it was a shitty answer. Some people weren't particularly happy with his response. I would say it was more just that he was sort of meandering a bit using Twitter. There's some people, they use Twitter as just a means of putting their thoughts out, and they don't construct their tweets that well, so they're happy to just let a thread happen. And then there's some people who really do expect tweets to be very perfectly constructed. But, he did express that it was not the right thing to do, and, make of that what you will, I suppose. So that is overall our situation here. I think the key takeaway is the WoW team response, the official responses, the employees making their big move, and the really key thing is Bobby Kotick's. That's now happening. It's coming from the most senior staff, and also that we've got the stock price going down, and we have got these lawsuits coming in from these 3 law firms. I think that's big. There was one time I heard people say, look, because there's been design criticisms of World of Warcraft, right? I've heard people say, look, your design critiques, no, those won't be listened to. The team pretty much think that they have it right, and players will eventually see the wisdom of their ways. The only way pressure will ever come on them is if the numbers go down. And I think you can see that sort of thing happening to Activision Blizzard on a broader scale here. The numbers are coming down. When the numbers go down, that's when you'll expect to see some form of result or change. We'll just have to watch and wait, see what happens. That's basically where we're at. Now, if you'd like some more content after this, we do have stories coming up on Skull and Bones. That one might actually be already published. Final Fantasy XIV and a whole bunch of other things going on this channel, because this channel's back. We're doing it big. A lot more content. We're becoming a lot more in-depth and analytical and things. It's going to be a bunch of fun. So, okay. Play some video games that you love. Have fun. Keep these things in mind, because not only is this a bad moral situation to be going on, this stuff's obviously bad for the games too. In a company where all of these terrible things are going on, how are games made reasonably and on time? There is that, admittedly a little bit selfish, but also we are customers. There's that angle too. So hopefully good change happens. These companies get better. That's it for me. I'll see you next time.